They failed because they didn't have a dream. Apparently it's Shakespeare. They failed because they didn't have a dream. And it struck me that the story of Edinburgh's tourism industry the last 20 years is anything but failure because you didn't have a dream. And I think Edinburgh's tourism sector helps remind us of what can be achieved and really sets, I think, quite an important context for the next phase in the success story that is tourism in Edinburgh and the wider region. We've seen growth in employment, we've seen growth in visitor numbers and spend, and the city today boasts a whole range of globally competitive businesses and tourism infrastructure. It now really is an all-year-round industry for the city. And that shift's been on the back of some major developments in the events and festivals that Edinburgh's been successful in attracting. Festivals that bring more than 5 million attendees to the city every year. So the range of awards and accolades that Edinburgh's achieved over recent years is simply phenomenal. Edinburgh now is quite clearly a must-see destination for UK and international delegates and visitors alike. Frankly, winning the UK's favourite city for 11 or maybe now 12 consecutive years is quite incredible and a real example of sustained performance against a backdrop of increased competition in the tourism industry. Now, it can be a bit of a truism, but I think it's very true for the tourism industry that partnership's been a central part of success here. Collaboration and partnership between companies, between the public and the private sector, and between the public agencies, Visit Scotland, City of Edinburgh Council, Scottish Enterprise and many other agencies that support tourism. And I think it's that spirit of partnership that really drives the work of ETAG that Robin mentioned earlier. And I think it's really important that we continue to ensure the private sector take a lead role in shaping their future as an industry. And in doing so, they have the confidence, they have the support of the public sector in order to realise their plans for growth. Now, I'm happy to admit quite a personal bias here, given my experience at EICC, but I think 1995 was one of those landmark years for Edinburgh. It was the year we saw the first low-cost airline coming to the city with the arrival of EasyJet, but it was also the year we saw the opening of EICC. That, I believe, has had a radical impact on Edinburgh's tourism performance. It's been a stimulus for investment in new accommodation, in new facilities, in new services, and it's attracted hundreds of thousands of delegates, I think something like 800,000 at the last count, and secured hundreds of millions of pounds of investment into the city. I think, as the Minister will undoubtedly say, those factors of leadership and ambition, of partnership and of delivery against landmark activities will be a key future phase of the tourism strategy for Edinburgh, as it was 23 years ago. And at a time when organisations like McKinsey's are predicting that the biggest global shift we're likely to see is going to be an increase from 1 billion to 3 billion middle-class consumers worldwide, driven by China, India and other fast-growing markets, I think we face the kind of choice we faced 20-odd years ago. Do we rest on the achievements that we've had, fantastic as these are, or do we set our path for the future to be one about growth, to be one about investment, to be one about partnership that's going to continue the success story that is Edinburgh's tourism industry today? I think the concentration of opportunities that we have around the tourism sector in the next few years is immense. Perhaps another set of landmarks for the future that can drive growth. The next 3 years alone will see a concentration of opportunity that's really unprecedented. I don't think we've seen this before. They're styled as the winning years, and for Scottish tourism that will see 8 major events and other investments being held in Scotland, from the reality of this year's Olympics to the Commonwealth Games, the Ryder Cup, the Disney Pixar film Brave and other major investments. I think these can be a real spur for investment and growth in the tourism sector in Scotland and in Edinburgh. And as we head towards, I think, another major milestone, another major landmark in Edinburgh's development with the opening of the expansion at EICC that Hans Rissman will talk about later today, perhaps we have in that another major catalyst for growth, another major landmark development that can spur growth in Edinburgh's tourism industry. So, I would urge you all really to seize those opportunities and seize them in the knowledge of what you've achieved over the last 20 years, with the confidence that comes from the delivery that you've put in place, and with the commitment that you have from all the agencies in the public sector that are here to support the tourism industry, that we will do so to achieve the success of the next 20 years in the way we've seen over the last 20 years. So thank you very much for your time. I look forward to the next retrospective when we look back on the success of Edinburgh 2020. Thanks very much, and I'll hand you back to Robin.